Thanks very much indeed for being here this morning for the formal launch of the manifesto for myself, for the Liberal Democrat candidate for mayor, and for the Liberal Democrat candidates for the London Assembly. We've assembled a range of policies to show Londoners how London would look under a Liberal Democrat mayor with a predominantly Liberal Democrat Assembly. This is our contract with London. It talks about a greener, more sustainable London with strong communities, street markets and local high streets, enhancing and developing our green spaces, protecting our back gardens from development, ensuring that London becomes the greenest capital in Europe. A safer London where the majority of Londoners honestly believe the police are on their side, where the majority of Londoners believe that the police are there to protect them rather than to prosecute them, where the public really trust the police enough to be able to tell the police who it is who are carrying the guns and knives. A more affordable London with low-cost rented accommodation, the major emphasis being on building more council housing, housing built by housing associations, and using publicly owned land at cheaper cost in order that even people like pension funds will actually build decent, affordable rented accommodation, not just for people who are on income support or people who've traditionally relied on social housing, but for young professionals who are seeing increasing amounts of their salary taken up with private sector rents. And we're talking about homes where anybody would be proud to call that place home. A more convenient London, where more people have the chance to live and study close to where they live, where public transport is safer, more reliable and frequent, where anybody who wants to catch a bus, for example, can actually rely on the bus, will know from an indicator on every bus stop when the next bus is going to arrive. A fairer London, where every Londoner believes that they have a real chance to succeed, with an emphasis on education and skills training, because I honestly believe that it's education and skills training that is the route out of poverty. And even the well-off in London believe the gap between rich and poor is too wide and something needs to be done about it. And we are the only party who are serious about narrowing that gap. Having said that, and in addition to this contract, we have a full written manifesto. But these are not a definitive nor a fixed list of policies. If my term as mayor is going to be known for anything, it's going to be about listening to Londoners, understanding what their issues are and responding to their problems. When I was the police commander in Lambeth, I found that this was the secret of success. It was about going out and talking to ordinary Londoners in residents and tenants association meetings, listening to what those local people were telling me and taking on their priorities and adjusting the policies, adjusting the service that we provided in accordance with what they wanted. That's what's missing. That's what is missing in London today. The current mayor has stopped listening to Londoners. He's surrounded by an impenetrable ring of advisors, unelected advisors, and he is not listening to anybody except those advisors. Many of you will have been with us when we were at Earl's Court a few weeks ago, and an ordinary Londoner suggested that her bus service was poor. And the mayor accused her of being on something, and he didn't mean a bus. He is just dismissive of what ordinary people have to say. And the Conservative candidate has never, in his life, listened to Londoners. Understandably, the MP for Henley quite rightly has focused his attention on country matters and understands a lot more about the Henley Regatta than he does about life in London. He's never spoken, had never spoken in the House of Commons, for example, about London issues until this miraculous conversion when he decided that he was going to be the candidate for the Mayor of London. My term as Mayor is going to be about competence, and it's going to be about probity. I've worked on the streets as a constable for years, serving individual Londoners who've been the victims of crime, managed large budgets and large teams of people. And I've delivered real, effective crime reduction as a consequence, making Londoners safer. And never at any stage has my integrity been called into questions. Londoners really need to ask themselves in this competition, on past performance, do they really trust the current mayor to run London in the interests of all Londoners? On past performance, do they really trust the Conservative candidate to run anything at all? He's certainly never delivered public services. He's never run anything larger than a magazine. There is an alternative, and the voting system for mayor allows people to vote positively, first preference, and to vote tactically, second preference. The second preference votes is what you should use to keep the person you can't stand out. Believe me, I understand the many people who've come up to me in the street and said, whatever happens, we've got to get Livingston out. And I understand the people who say, whatever happens, we can't allow that clown, Boris Johnson, to become Mayor of London. But you don't have to vote first preference in order to make sure the person you despise doesn't become mayor. You shouldn't be voting for the lesser of two evils. You mustn't vote along party lines even though you know that your party's candidate is actually not up to the job. You should vote for someone with serious solutions to London's most pressing problems. Somebody who is prepared to listen to Londoners, somebody who's worked all his life delivering services to Londoners, making Londoners' lives better and safer. Someone who is prepared to listen, prepared to act, and prepared to change London for the better, which is why I'm asking Londoners to vote for Brian Paddick as Mayor of London and to vote Liberal Democrat for the London Assembly. Thanks very much. So now I'm going to ask Vince Cable to join me in signing our contract with London. Shall I sign a new witness? You go first.